session?
No, outside.
Do we need to invite them to come on in? We'll go ahead and get started with the folks that are here then, because we are limited to time. We are now going to be addressing the U.S. Congress District Number 1. And we do have some ground rules, guidelines for the session. And this is, we have a strict schedule that we need to adhere to without exception. This is an interview, not a debate, so there's no redirected questions. Candidates are allowed 1.5 minutes to self-introduce. And panelists will be given 30 seconds to pose a question, and candidates have a minute to respond. If time allows, we'll invite audience members to also pose questions as well. This is not a forum to air personal grievances. So with that, I'll go ahead and we have 4 candidates: Jose Padilla, Herbert Glenn Peters, Dr. Annette Teijeiro, and Kamau Bakari. So if we could start down on the end with Dr. Annette Teijeiro, that'd be great.
Thank you so much. Everybody hear me okay? Thank you for having me here today. I am running for Congressional District 1, a district that I grew up in. My family has been in Las Vegas for 38 years. I graduated from junior high school, and UNLV. I went to UNR for the School of Medicine, and I came back to my community after my training. I have spent more than 10 years reviewing legislation in the Nevada State Legislature for advocacy in healthcare, and I am fully vested in the idea of helping my community, and I have done lots of community service here in the Valley, doing voluntary things, and I serve on different nonprofit panels, such as the Lymphoma and Leukemia Association, and I have my pet things that I like Opportunity Village, of which I participated in.
Thank you. Mr. Padilla?
Hello, thank you everyone for having me here. My name is Jose Padilla. I'm running for Congressional District 1 of Nevada. I'm running because I'm concerned about the American dream, since that is something that I'm living. I'm the first generation American. Both of my parents immigrated here from Honduras, the poorest country of Latin America. They came here without any money, without knowing English, but with the idea that in America they can have a better life for themselves and their children. And so they instilled me with the dream when I was a kid to go to the best university in the country, and with thanks to the sacrifices of my parents and my own efforts, I was able to get into Harvard. I worked there, while I was studying, and took loans, which I'm still paying off. Graduated with honors, and then I went to University of Pennsylvania Law School. And after that, I began my career as a corporate attorney, starting off working for technology startups. But then I went into healthcare, doing several billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions of healthcare companies. After working at a law firm, I went in-house for one of the largest healthcare providers in the country, and until I was recruited by a gaming company here in Las Vegas, and where I work now as Assistant General Counsel.
Thank you very much. Mr. Peters? I'm sorry, Mr. Bakari.
Kamau Bakari. I'm local, born here, lived here all my life. My father came here in 41, and I went to school here, graduated here, worked in the private sector all my life, always had a job. Maybe 4 or 5 unemployment checks in the history of my life that I've got over the years. I work for myself now. This May will be 17 years. I'm a contractor, electrician. Politics is like a hobby for me. If you were to tell me what state you're from, I could probably tell you when that state entered the union, month, day, and year, maybe day of week, who the president was. I'm into it. American history is my thing. I know the states created the federal government, not the other way around. The federal government's out of control. I got the same answer every time I ask it. Give me an example of something where the creation takes over and starts running the creator of that creation. There's only one answer: Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster. That's what we have. The government's out of control. The states created the federal government, not the other way around. And now the federal government is taking over. And I want to try and push that back, reverse that, bring it back in line like the Constitution says.
Thank you, Mr. Bakari. Mr. Peters?
Hi, my name is Herbert Glenn Peters, and I go by the name of Herb. I was born on the farm in San Joaquin Valley near Fresno, near Dinuba, California. My My mother gave birth to me and most of my siblings right there in the farmhouse. I grew up on the farm and went to college, and so I spent essentially 22 years as a farmer's son. And then after going to college, I was hired by one of the government agencies and worked as a electrical engineer, electronic engineer, and aerospace engineer with the Federal Aviation Administration for 37 years. And during those 37 years, I discovered what a difference there is between work on the farm and work in the federal government. When you're on the farm, it's your money you're spending, and your money you're investing in, and then you're working for the government, it's not your money. Decisions are not made from a standpoint of sound decisions. They're made from how much money do we have and how much more can we get. That kind of idea. It's always a tendency to grow. And I would like to make a comparison between what we have today, and I won't talk about today.
Time.
All righty?
Thank you very much. Mr. Bajonas?
Got to pass real quick.
Okay. Ms. C?
Hi. My question is a yes or no question. Are you informed about Agenda 21 and what's happening, and would you help to stop that happen if you were elected?
Let's start with Mr. Peters and we'll go down the line.
Yes, I'm aware, and yes, I would work to stop it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bakari?
I heard a little bit about something to do with UN international stuff. I don't know, doesn't sound good from what I heard. I'd be against it.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Yes, I'm aware of it, and yes, I would stop it. I'm not in favor of any UN directives telling us how we should live.
Dr. Shiro?
And yes, I am aware of it, and I am not for anything that our sovereign nation takes away our civil rights and our ability to own our property. So it's against the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I just want to say real quick, I do have a conflict of interest with this race. As chairman of the Libertarian Party of Nevada, we have a candidate who's going to be running. With that said, I will not be a voting member, but I would like to ask questions, if that's okay. We're going to start with Mr. Padilla. Most people wouldn't really put two and two together on this, but the reason I'm a libertarian, the reason I'm involved in politics is to limit the scope of the Securities and Exchange Commission, limit the scope of FINRA, and increase and stimulate small business. So, being on Congress, what would you guys do from a financial oversight to help me achieve these goals? What would you do to specifically limit the scope of the Securities and Exchange Commission, limit the scope of FINRA, and increase and stimulate
And you
jobs?
directed that to Mr. Padilla?
We'll start with Mr. Padilla.
Yes, having dealt with securities, I'm aware that the oversight has gotten so bureaucratic. The original purpose of the SEC regulation was to have disclosure as the main way of protecting investors. Now it's gotten things like the Sarbanes-Oxley reform in the early 2000s. I've seen it affect businesses. I've done IPOs. I've seen companies who decided not to do IPOs because of the Sarbanes-Oxley rules. That is something that's one example of a reform that needs to be looked at again and changed. As well with FINRA, I think we need to get the regulations back to the original purpose, which was to maintain disclosure and allow people to take risks. Instead of now, it's just so bureaucratic. You need to have several attorneys to give you any advice to deal with securities.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. Dr. Shiro?
Yes. Overall, our government has headed off onto a very complicated, heavily regulated industry, which actually serves no purpose. The Securities and Exchange Commission is supposed to create transparency and equal playing ground and create information so that the people investing in the securities can have a clear and informed way of investing. It was not meant to be used as a weapon against different organizations, different smaller businesses that want to break in, which is being used at this point in time. So the Securities and Exchange needs to be rolled back to its original purpose, which was to prevent the fraud on the public and to prevent people from not having full disclosure when they're investing. So those are the things that need to be rolled back so that, in essence, we have good investment, but we don't have staggered investment. With the banks, what happened with the ways that they were doing the loans? that became an issue.
Thank you very much. Mr. Peters.
I believe that the government has overstepped its bounds in these areas. The government gets too involved in too many things, and it's not competent to do those things. And we should not have federal government or federal laws involved in this area of how I invest my money. Yes, if fraud is committed, a government agency should punish fraud. The idea is they should detect it and punish it. They don't need to create a whole administration to do that job.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Picard?
I agree. There's too much regulation. A lot of our problems stem from the government having too much money. And they play favorites. They have guys that on the inside favor this or that group. Most of that comes from too much money. Too many bureaucrats doing with nothing to do and make up stuff. So you take away their budget, their money, and they go away. They don't work for free. So I'm sure that being a businessman myself, I know the paperwork, fill this out, fill that out, fill this out. He's sitting at a desk just making up stuff. So I'm sure a lot of them need to go away. I'd like to see it scaled way back. Take their money away. It's all the money. They have too much money.
Thank you very much. Mr. Butler?
Thank you all for being here this afternoon. My name is Tony Bach, and I have a question for you that's not a popular question, but
Use the microphone, please.
Thank you all for being here again. My name is Tony Bach, and I have a question, first a statement and then a question that is a hot topic around the country, and it's not a popular topic to talk about, but let me ask you the question, or statement first. For the most part, American citizens are very generous in giving people willing to help all those in need. However, there comes a time when enough is enough. Illegal aliens, primarily from Mexico, have completely disregarded the immigration laws of the U.S. and have set up residence here against our will. If elected for Congress in your district, what are you going to do to make sure illegal aliens are brought to justice? Are you 100% willing to uphold the laws of the United States, even if it goes against the grain in the district you represent? Will you guarantee Americans that you will strike down any immigration legislation that has anything to do with amnesty, or has amnesty built into it, or some sort of amnesty provision built into it?
Thank you. Mr. Picard, what do we start with you?
Sure. English is official language. That's the answer to that. If the immigrants come here have to do business with the government, city, county, state, federal, and they have to do it in English, that'll limit a lot of what they do. That includes enrolling kids in school. When they go to register the kids in school, if all the forms are in English, which they should be, then they have to adapt to that. And if they come here, they hustle and want to work, I'm hard pressed to run them off. We can't get too many people that want to work and be productive and contribute to the society. We have enough moochers and that. We don't need any of that. And I think the answer to the illegal alien problem, the biggest, is that English as official language. If all our forms, documentation, even the cops, when they interface with them, they have to be able to communicate in English. And if you can't communicate in English, then you got to be deemed maybe in the wrong. So what are you doing here? So that's my thing with that. You speak English for government language. Private businesses, Home Depot, banks, they want to adapt, change, make a different language for their stuff, but not the government, not election department, not voting booths and all that, and anything other than English. That's my answer to the illegal alien problem. English only, it's official language.
So my position is actually very similar to Congressman Joe Heck's. I mean, this is an issue that's very near to my heart. I mean, I was born here, but my parents were immigrants, and I grew up, with my parents learning to read and write at the same time that I was. And so I was doing immigration forms for relatives when I was like 8 and 9. And I continued, as an attorney, I've done pro bono work for immigrants, and I'm currently doing the paperwork for my wife, who's an immigrant from Russia. And basically, there needs to be a recognition that the immigration system now is broken. I do believe in upholding the laws as they exist, but we need to change them, because as an attorney, if there was someone that wanted to do harm to this country and they were to ask me as an attorney, can I get a visa to come here, I could figure out several ways for them to get here. if someone is poor and wants to come here just to work, I would not be able to help them. There's no visa available for them. So what ends up happening is for a lot of these immigrants, it's become a rational decision to come here illegally. And that's the unfortunate fact. We have people, if there's 15 million illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, that means there's millions of Americans who are hiring them. So for me, I look at this the way, in the 20s, if you were drinking a beer, you're breaking the law. But I wouldn't want to send them all to jail. It just meant the law needed to be changed. And so I think that's the situation that we have now.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. Mrs. Teijeiro, Dr. Teijeiro.
Yes, for everybody that doesn't know it, my parents were immigrants also. My mother's from Puerto Rico and my father was from Cuba. In fact, if he would not have made it to the United States, he probably would have been dead, and I probably wouldn't be here talking to you. But the immigration system as it stands right now is broken. Part of it is because we haven't enforced it appropriately. But given the situation that we're in now, we do have some hardworking individuals who have families here. Breaking up families is probably not in the best interest of the American way. So therefore, we do need to reform the immigration process. But in the process, if you create blanket amnesty that encourages people who are felons to stay in this country, absolutely not. We want people that are hardworking, that are going to contribute to our society. A legal status is necessary at this point in time. And those that are not contributing to our society, that are on the public dole, that have violated our laws, they need to be sent back, or they need to do their fair share of paying their time to society. We cannot encourage lawlessness. The rule of law must be followed. So for me, I actually worked as a 16-year-old translating documents for an immigration attorney. I understand how complicated it is. I watched my grandparents have to sit for 18 months in Spain before they could come here. So it is complicated. But getting in front of the line by coming here illegally also cannot be totally rewarded. But again, this is a complex issue. It takes a complex law to solve it. And we have many, many laws right now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peters.
Hi. I believe, I'm a Christian, and the Bible says things like, be good to the alien among you. And I believe in that. I think that our problem is we have some bad laws, and by the way, the Bible also says the same laws should apply to the alien as those that apply to the people who live here. So we have some fairly bad laws in this country that we need to deal with for our own citizens as well as the aliens. We give welfare. We pay people for not working. We need to quit doing that. We have a problem with jobs. The real issue is the alien will come over here and work for whatever wage you will pay him. The American people, they seem to be able to get by with unemployment or welfare and or a higher paying job. What we need to do is restore natural law in this country. Wage rates should be driven by supply and demand and the ability to sell our products around the world. If we can't sell our products around the world, we are having a problem. Right now, about the only product we sell around the world, and I'm being too narrow, but one of them is 747 aircraft, or Boeing airplanes. They are sold around the world because they're tremendous benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. We'll go ahead and ask the next question. Mrs. Cooperton.
What is the most important problem facing your district right now, and what are you going to do? How are you going to solve the problem?
And do you want this directed to any particular candidate or to all of them?
Just to all.
Okay. We can start again with Mr. Peters.
Hi. What is the most important problem? And I'll compare in 1846, for the first 46 years of our nation, our federal government paid the debt, and we had a Revolutionary War debt and a 1812 war debt. They paid it down to zero in 1835.
Mr. Peters, I think the question was, what are you going to do in your district now, not maybe reflecting back on history, but maybe...
We need to have a basis, a place to start, and this country was in great shape when we started. We balanced the budget in 32 out of those 42 years. The idea is we had a but a government that did what it was supposed to do. It ran the government, it ran the Congress, and it ran the military. That was it. They didn't get involved in education, they didn't get involved in the medical field, and that's what we need to do. We need to get our government back down to size. The government cannot take care of individuals. It's up to the individuals to take care of themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Next, Mr. Bakari.
Yeah, there's nothing unique about CD1 versus the other ones. Same problem overall. The government has too much money. What's happened in this country, 3 classes have been created. There's the government class, and the welfare class, and then the private sector in the middle, the one getting hammered, getting their pockets picked. The government class, fat pensions, don't come to work, still get paid. Welfare, don't go to work, still get paid. The guy in the middle, he gotta go to work. You don't go to work, you don't get paid. I don't go to work, I don't get paid. But that government class, they get paid, fat pension benefits. Welfare class, they don't go to work, they get paid. And we're in the middle, get hit. Stop getting our pockets picked. It's no different. The other just congressional districts, all the same. There's 3 classes in this country. Government class, welfare class, and then the working class in the middle.
Thank
Have to
you.
go to work, get
Thank you
paid.
very much, Mr. Padilla.
Well, I think the district is facing several important problems. If you want to rate them, I guess for the number 1, I would say it's jobs. You know, it's the district has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country, and that's an issue that I think it's because the priorities of this administration have instead been healthcare when he began his terms during the crisis, when it should have been the economy. And I think the problem is there's too many people in Congress, like the current incumbent, who have no experience with the private sector. Having worked all my life as basically a business advisor, working with startup companies, I realized that the decisions to hire and fire companies are based not on last year's profits, but on projections of future profits. And that's difficult to do when there's too many people in Congress who every year are trying to think of new regulations and new taxes to inflict on the private sector. So what I would do is help to stop that.
Thank you, Dr. Teijeiro.
Yes, the job of a representative is to represent its district. And this district is an extremely diverse district. I know because I've lived in it most of my life. So as I look at this, of course, jobs, jobs, and more jobs. And it is not the federal government's idea of what a job should be. It's the individuals. We should be creating opportunities for individuals not only to work in a regular standard job, but to be creating businesses. And in order to do that, we have to educate people for success. That doesn't just mean the K through 12. It means everybody. It means giving small business owners the opportunity to educate their own workforce. It means educating people that want to become small business owners, providing them with the tools. That's what needs to be done. We need to jumpstart America, ladies and gentlemen, because when we have prosperity, then everything else seems to fall into place. When we have government micromanaging our personal lives, that's a huge problem.
Thank you. Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, and this is. Now, this will be to everybody as well. What do you consider to be the #1 issue affecting or facing our veterans community? And what can you do to make improvements?
Let's start with Dr. Teijeiro.
There are some very serious issues. We have a brand new veterans hospital. It has serious issues. Our veterans do not have the services that they need. Veterans across this country have defended the U.S. Constitution with their very lives. We have a promise and we have a duty to fulfill with them. If we don't have the services through the Veterans Hospital, we should open up everywhere that they can get health care, whether that be providing them with a health care card, that they can go to any facility that is the top-rated facility in this valley. Absolutely. It's also unfair that our veterans would have to travel miles to go to a certain veterans hospital to get that service. There are over 400,000 people that are in the system trying to become part of our veteran system. That's unconscionable. I cannot believe that a government that supposedly made a promise to our veterans sits here and lets 400,000 of them not have the care that they need. So that needs to change. We have a serious problem up in Reno. There are investigations going on, but our current representatives haven't done what it takes to get that done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Padilla?
Having been in the healthcare industry for a long time, you hear a lot of complaints about the VA system. And so one of the things that I've heard proposed time and time again, and which I think someone needs to fight for when you're in Congress, is making sure there's accountability within the system. It's become a bureaucracy where managers of the hospitals, aren't punished when they commit mistakes. When the hospitals that they're supposed to make sure serve the veteran community aren't doing so with the quality that they deserve, these people are left in place. I think there's a bill currently in Congress right now that is trying to do that, and I would definitely support that. I've also heard proposals about, I think in the military hospitals, currently any doctor or personnel in the military hospital, their own families have to go to that same hospital. And I've heard that there's proposals to do the same for the VA system. I think something like that would help improve that system.
Thank you. Mr. Bakari?
I don't understand why they have their separate facilities anyway. I never got that. But my understanding of what goes wrong with the veterans is the staff, unionized staff, get the fat pensions and all the benefits, and they soak up all the money. I know for a fact that they build the buildings under the prevailing wage laws, the Davis-Bacon Act, and that's a construction law. People don't know about that. But I try to repeal that. They waste a lot of money in the construction costs, the building of the facilities, because that law causes the government to pay more than market rates, a whole lot more. So there'd be savings there on that end of it. And my understanding is that the staffers get a lot of the money and the benefits and get soaked up that way, and benefits from the staff that work there, and they don't tend to them. But I don't know, but I heard that's what's said about the veterans.
Thank you very much. Mr. Peters?
I believe that the veterans have taken great risks for our nation, and that we need to honor our veterans. When it comes to medical care, I agree with the doctor that veterans should be able to go to any doctor anywhere in the country to get the medical care that they need. Also for living, if a veteran is homeless, I believe that the veteran should be able to live on his choice of military base. If he does work on the base, the commander of the base can put him to work and make sure that he does the job. But they should have that avenue, that choice. If they don't have any other home, they should be able to live on a military base. Other than that, we need to make sure that jobs prevail in this country so that anyone who wants a job can get a job.
Thank you very much. Mr. Yepko?
Thank you. Indulge me for just a moment. I've been a small business owner for 15 years, and for the last couple months, I've been reading a lot of different business books, and I've tried to apply their principles to my business as well as politics, because I've been involved in politics for a while. The greatest idea I've read lately, it's something called recombinant innovation. What it says is you take an idea that's known and you just change it a little bit to make a difference. And I don't want you to add to my cynicism or negativity or apathy about what you can do at your level, but you shouldn't be sitting here if you don't think you can make a difference, even if you're up the road, okay? So my question is, many years ago, the city of Las Vegas had a nexus between unpaid parking tickets and registering your car at DMV. What did they do? If you didn't pay your parking tickets, you couldn't register your car. So, why can't we, and Mr. Shahadi brought this up in in the beginning of our meeting, which I know you weren't here for, our latest tragedy at Fort Hood. My argument is, why can't we,
Can we
you
be
have a
succinct to the question?
Okay, why can't we codify or do some type of work with the mentally ill and the National Crime Information Center to prevent these people from getting guns and causing the next tragedy? I'd like to hear your ideas on that.
And are you directing this to anyone in particular?
All for that.
If it's for all candidates, it has to be a yes or no. We don't have time to ask complex questions to each candidate.
Do you think what I said about connecting the truly mentally ill with NCIC to prevent them from getting firearms and creating the next tragedy for anyone across our country? Yes or no?
I'm sorry, but as a physician, I can tell you that I don't like blanket statements like that. People can be seriously ill and then become well. And I'm not going to be for taking away their right to own a gun because they were ill at one point in their life. So as a physician, I can't put that in a little box. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla.
For me, in principle, I agree with the idea, but you have to be careful because of things that, as my colleague here mentioned, there can be a change in circumstances or someone, you have to be careful in how that determination is made. But there is a problem with mental health today. I mean, I know that there's 20% less hospital beds in mental health hospitals today than there were 20 years ago. So there needs to be more help for those who are mentally ill, because I think that's the real problem.
Thank you. Mr. McCullough?
I think the best thing you can do for that is, as long as we're in a free society, people can own guns and have guns, and I'm all for that. People need to be able to defend themselves, to limit the damage. So I'd be for the people around him where he did that, they should be allowed to be armed themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
The Second Amendment says that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Any gun control law is an infringement on the Second Amendment. We need self-regulation. As an example, if I'm a parent of a child, if my son or daughter is incompetent, mentally incompetent to use or own a gun, I should make sure, as her parent, that that doesn't happen.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mrs. Gibson? No questions? Okay, Karen, did you have a question?
No, ma'am.
All right, is there anyone else on the panel that would like to ask a question, or we can open it up to Mr. Padilla?
So as a libertarian, as an American, and as someone filled to the gills with common sense, I believe that the free markets can pretty much solve any problem. A simple yes or no, are you for minimum wage or against minimum wage? Are you for it or against it? Not a yes or no.
Mr. Peters?
I am against the minimum wage.
I'm against the minimum wage, and let me add, I was watching C-SPAN some years ago, and Alan Greenspan testified before a Congressional Committee, Ways and Means, and he said, they were asking about, is it a good idea to raise it? He said, not only should you not raise it, you should get rid of it. And I'm all for that. I never was for that. Free market guy.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla.
I also believe in the free market and against minimum wage.
Okay, Dr. Tina?
I'm against the minimum wage. It doesn't make any sense. It was supposed to just be for child labor when it was first introduced. As you've seen, it's ballooned into something that it's not through our government.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the panel?
I have one. Right now, medical marijuana is really big in the news, especially in Nevada. It's been in our state constitution legally since 2001. I, being more libertarian-minded, believe all drugs should be legalized, and that the war on drugs is not good for us. We're not getting anywhere. Has to be another way. Do you feel the same, or do you feel that the war on drugs is good and that we need to keep criminalizing parents for smoking weed?
We'll start with Dr.
You know, criminalizing parents for having medical marijuana is outrageous. I know that there is a case here in town where someone was actually, their son or daughter was removed from them because they had medical marijuana. Medical marijuana, by definition, is medical marijuana. That means that the person is using this medication to be able to treat some type of illness. They are under a doctor's care. It is ridiculous to criminalize people who are legitimately using chemicals and medication to treat a known disease or problem. So, no, we should not be sitting here criminalizing. The other part is we don't really need to fill all of our prisons with people that commit these minor acts that they're not criminals, but we make them criminals by imprisoning them with criminals that truly have killed people, have been thugs, have beat up people, done violent crimes. This is ridiculous. We shouldn't be doing these kinds of things. What we should do is a prudent approach. Please.
Did you want this directed to all of them?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so,
Simple yes or no.
Supposed to be yes or no.
Yeah.
Well, yes or no, but what was the exact question? Was it for all drugs, marijuana?
medical marijuana.
Well,
Medical marijuana?
it was mostly for all drugs. Would you be willing or have an open mind about legalizing all drugs and stopping the war on drugs and looking at this problem a different way?
For me, given that there's hundreds of drugs that are scheduled, to being illegal, that's a really broad question. If you're saying all drugs, no. I think that some drugs, they need to be controlled. But as far as medical marijuana, I think that should be decriminalized. And I think we're wasting a lot of resources on, on things like marijuana.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. Mr.
I
Burke.
think the federal government has no authority to decriminalize any drugs. When they made alcohol illegal, they had to amend the Constitution to do it. People still knew enough about the law to know that the government had to amend the Constitution to have that authority. They don't have the authority to make marijuana and all that. So no, the government shouldn't criminalize any illegal drugs now because they don't have that authority.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
I agree with my partner to my left. Also, in 1914, when they came up with the Harrison Narcotics Act, prior to that, people were using opiums and the other drugs, and we had the best economy of all time. It was religious zealousness that brought about the law. And I'm a Christian. I don't think we should have those kinds of laws. We should legalize all these drugs. It's my responsibility for what I take into my body and nobody else's.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the panel members? Seeing no, is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask a question of our candidates? Well, seeing none, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you very much for